एक टाइम में इधर पानी नहीं था ब्रह्मपुत्र में। हम लोग जो बोल रहा था तो हम लोग का एक शेरजा होता है बजाने वाला।
हाँ
वो उसको बजा बजा के ब्रह्मपुत्र में पानी खींच के लाए। उसी से इधर से आके इधर बस गया।
अच्छा
पानी पानी आके
कहाँ से तान के लाए?
ये पता नहीं कहाँ से
कहाँ
आया,
से?
प्रकृति से आया होगा।
It's called serja, something like a violin, I think.
Violin. Oh.
वायोलिन से
लाऊ है तो बना है
हमारे तो
They played that
शिशु गोसल बना।
शिशु
and
को
pulled the water.
हिजू
And the Brahmaputra
Who
was
played that?
formed.
Who played that? कौन?
इसका तो नाम पता नहीं, कोई था एक
Somebody.
हम लोग
Samba.
का ऐसा एक गुरु है, उसका नाम है सिंह सिंह।
Sing Sing.
एक बोल के हम लोग का जैसे कि बाबा जी आता है ना, ऐसा
Like a
था।
guru.
गुरु।
उसने बजाया. Sing Sing.
और हम लोग मूर्ति पूजा नहीं करते ना, हम लोग हिंदू है लेकिन मूर्ति पूजा नहीं करते।
और प्रकृति को
हम लोग प्रकृति
They are Hindu, but they do not worship idols. He's saying they worship nature.
So then from that time the Brahmaputra changed its flow.
Brahmaputra came here.
जो ये करता है ना, अगर समझ में आएगा तो पूरा सीने में लग जाएगा,
इधर
आंसू आ जाएगा। ऐसा सुर है, दुख का सुर है।
Harding always talk with us. Abong and Dion install courage in us. Daiko and Madaiko always sentinel for us. In the midst of all these, we live from time immemorial, looking into the future to contribute towards heavenly peace in the world. The Harding is the hills, the Abong and Dion the river nearby the within the village and nearby the village, and Daiko is the regional prayer space, sacred groves, and Madaiko is the sacred space within the village.
कुछ समझ नहीं आ रहा हमको तो बस बनाते जा रहे हैं।
नहीं अभी देखिए घर का जगह कहाँ कहाँ है अपने बड़ा अच्छा से बनाया ना। ये वाला स्कूल है। ये क्या है?
ये भी स्कूल ही है। बाकी ये 5वीं क्लास तक का है और ये 8वीं क्लास तक का है।
ये एमई स्कूल है, एलपी स्कूल है?
एमई स्कूल है।
एलपी है हाँ। और ये पानी का जगह हो गया, वाटरफॉल्स हो गया, जूम वाला एरिया हो गया। ये क्या रहा था?
ये
पानी खेती पानी खेती ना, तो इसमें ये भी है पानी खेती। तो इसमें आया ये वाला क्या है?
ये ब्रिज है।
ब्रिज है। फिर आके अभी दाइको बनाना है ना। हाँ वो चीजें फिर
खाजा khajadu Domamu Mapsau Dundu Khajadu Ninjang Ning Dombake Bibir Jadu Nini Hamjau Mahani Khajadu Nini Kurang Kanahi Tiasi Ninjani Shamai Dangi Doma Nijai Hapshawa Doma Angbe Ajang Doma Ninjang Ibu Majang Hapshawa Hamjau Lanang Ningke Ani Hayu Dongrusi Nujen Baningke Ibu Majang Bashaina Nuzdi Duangbo Ani Muhaning Taulaka Naima Muninke Niro Bongjahini Kajadu
I think our walk on the first day itself to the Daiko was quite nice, because that gave us a sense of why that space is important, that the confluence of the river makes a space sacred, and that is why a lot of these sacred groves are in the spaces where the rivers meet. And it also gives a sense of how rivers, forest, the sense of being around these landscapes help people to connect to the space in a much better way, and how all of that is connected to them being spirits. So none of this was just a river. There was a water spirit, there was a forest spirit, there was a tree spirit. As individual species also there were tree spirits. There were taboos around certain kind of trees. This gives a sense of how everything was pretty much alive for them. It was not just a tree which you can cut and of course use, which people do, but it is also a sense of aliveness, that everything is responding to also what you're doing. So a tree is not just there receiving it, but is also responding if you do something wrong. So that was very reaffirming of what comes out of a lot of communities' relationship with the nature. There are lots of conflict, and there's no romanticization, but it is also a lot of beauty in it, with all those conflicts and complexities.
The Bangling, our village, was one of the most remote villages, and we have been thinking about sustainability, and to actually see a whole community living, 32 families living sustainably, was mind-blowing for me. They have everything that they need. So even when wherever I travel in the interior areas, I ask people one question. I'm like, what do you need to buy from the market? And the same answer I got from this village: salt and oil. That's it. So the whole idea of sustainability, which is again, like we are trying to reinvent it, already exists in a living tradition. So they have everything that one can think of. Food system, Ravindranatha ji already talked about the jhoom. Then they are already keeping their seeds. They had brinjal, they had the chilies. So they are saving the seeds already, and they have their jhoom, which is happening in a very beautiful way. Then water. So water, they already had a tank from which they were getting water. And when we spoke to the guys when they had come here, they said something beautiful. We love the taste of our water, of our well. Whenever we go to other villages, we miss the water of our well. They have forests around from which they source a lot of the things, and of course jhoom is part of that.
I had been to Longma village, I stayed there. It's a small village. It has really given us opportunity to understand the indigenous lifestyle and the way of life, how indigenous people live, the food habits, the integrity of the village, the faith, indigenous faith which they believe in, and also the indigenous knowledge which I saw. I have never seen goat house constructed in the manner which was done in that village, which was quite innovative. It was made out of bamboo and all. But I have seen many goat houses in many other part of the country, but that was unique and it should be replicated, adopted. It was very, very scientific structure. Even the food habit, the spices, the combination of food was quite complete. It has full nutrition. That also give us a good knowledge about how a balanced diet should be, which I saw in that village. So I am very much impressed by the indigenous people's own knowledge about weaving, about food habits, about farming, about jhum cultivation. It's, for example, if you take a jhum land, they cultivate nearly 30 to 40 varieties of food items, which in conventional agriculture you may not. You only cultivate a mono type single or two crops, whereas indigenous community in jhum cultivation are cultivating 30 to 40 varieties of food, which is marvelous. I mean, in this competitive age, in this era, that is a model of sustainable life and livelihood.
If we say that language is the cognitive expression of our culture, it only doesn't end there. I think there are many other things that actually expresses about a particular culture, and out of them is how residences are built and how this residence is used in different purposes. In the Naga society, when a guest comes, first thing is when they go, it is the kitchen that one enters into. Traditional Naga house, you will find a fireplace, everything is hanging, meat and everything drying up there. So that actually talks about how our society is welcoming.
Yeah, good day.
Actually, this is to be. हाँ और ये भी पूरा टाइट होने लगता ना. बना?
Yeah.
हाँ
ठीक है क्या
Lite.
क्या बोलते हैं?
Lite.
लिते.
L-I-T-E-I. Lite.
Look at our paints.
ये और ये लाइन कुछ बोलता है?
इसका तो कुछ नहीं
कुछ नहीं है ना?
ये सब को प्रोई होता है।
प्रोई। हाँ। स्पेलिंग?
PERUI।
हाँ, प्रोई।
ये तो प्रोई होगा, ये तो प्री है।
ओ प्री।
अच्छा। PERI। प्री।
From the time we landed in that village, I must say that, you know, it was like entering into a different world altogether. Because that village is much further away from the main road. And I think the village is situated in such a way that not many people pass through that village. No, it is like this only.
No, the north has to be on top.
Oh, okay.
If it's drawing to,
Oh, yeah.
Then it won't be correct, no?
no, it won't be.
Yeah, it has to be like that.
Yeah, this is a deSchool. We'll take it from west.
It is like that actually. I have been there also.
That's why we're saying it is the Hajong standard time, Hajong philosophy, Hajong life. So, you know, the direction also becomes
Hajong.
We talked and talked and talked, you know, we had a lot of things to say about so many things. The last day we went to the Jhum field. Not early in the morning, after having our lunch. Lunch is at 8, by the way. We went to, that is why it's Hajong standard time, you know, it doesn't follow our time. And then bamboos, I mean, this plantain is there. There's bamboo flowers, no, you can eat even now. So if somebody needs, they can still come here, though the harvest is over. They can still come here and find some stuff to eat, vegetables and.
These people, three of them from Blazer, they are thinking that oh, these are the mad guys come down and
Collecting all kinds of stuff.
yeah.
The Gauburi came with us. And then I just asked her, you draw something. This Jhumfi belongs to a man called Kolesh Khemprai.
Okay.
But then she has spelled it College.
Okay.
You know, it is Kolesh.
Collage.
It
Collage,
became
yeah.
the Jhum College.
So it became the Jhum College. Where
University of Jhum.
This confluence project has been conceptualized, and there was a meeting in Kaziranga and Guwahati. And in Guwahati meeting, there was a lot of time spent on the basic framework that we already have, and it had been discussed. And then, of course, the preamble had to be the natural outcome, that if we have common concerns about the region, as also the concerns for the rest of the country, that the great ideas and the words of wisdom, the life of wisdom that the people here have lived for generations had to be kind of, made use of for the larger community. And some of us with different backgrounds, academic, social activists, media persons, and simply concerned citizens. So we all thought that it is important to have an outline.
In that meeting, when we were discussing, I think we realized that despite all of these different backgrounds, there was one common interest really of keeping the pluriversity or the pluriversality of the northeastern region intact, especially looking into ecological issues, issues that have to do with nature and with the communities of the Northeast and the social, basically. The idea was really to initiate a discussion at that point without any pre-given parameter. It was clear that to somehow be able to reflect about the specific nature and pluriversality of the Northeast, that could not be properly reflected on in conferences or in books. So the idea really was to have something that allows a new way of thinking about the region and also thinking about how we as human beings are actually interacting with nature and with the non-human world. That discussion pretty much was inspired by the idea that such a space for a creative kind of a thinking that allows to emerge something new can actually only be entered through an artistic approach.
Yesterday we had a lot of discussions about de-learning, relearning. I thought there is a need to discuss remembering, de-remembering and unremembering.
Wow.
Similarly, forgetting, de-forgetting and unforgetting. It becomes very important because, you know, as the time passes, you begin to, you have different kind of made-up memory. So it's very important that we also think in those terms, because this is after all deSchool.
deSchool is
for us and for others who want to kind of, you know, unlearn or decolonize things of the kind. So it is for us and the likes of us.
I said that the importance of language is the most crucial, because it is through the language that the world is constructed. So loss of language means loss of the traditional knowledge system. In the Dimasa community, jungle is called Hagra. So Hagra can be brought into two groups. Ha means soil, Gra means elder. So Hagra basically means elderly land. So the moment you look at forest as elderly land, the whole dynamics of relationship changes. There is interdependence, the relatedness, there is mutualism, so many things come in. But if we lose that terminology, if we lose that Hagrama, we cannot reconstruct the traditional worldview of the Dimasa societies.
Stories are born every day. Storytellers are also born every day. All societies, all communities have stories to tell, because the stories signify a worldview. And every story has a kind of a view of the community, the people, the concerns, the plus points, and the future agenda. So that's why the storytelling has been a part of the the knowledge creation all across the countries. And it continues to be so, more so in the case of the communities which have retained largely their wisdom and the practices that are very relevant because they are regenerative, because they still stick to the way in which our concern for the nature, for the Mother Earth, and for the larger community. And I think at a time of the unprecedented crisis, particularly in the field of ecology, in the livelihood and all that, stories are very relevant.
The common understanding is that oral societies are inferior to the societies, literate societies. So that way writing is given more importance to of orality. It's as if like, writing is more advanced than oral cultures. But that is not the case, because oral cultures have their own characteristics, their own dynamics, their own way of transmission of knowledge. The whole society is organized differently, which is not found in the literate society. So you cannot bring in this whole concept of hierarchy there, that written societies with writing is higher, more advanced. That is a bogus, because that has been shown already by several scholars across the world, that orality can equally thrive like the literate societies.
When people living in ecosystems, they design their own food system, where their food production, processing, consumption, everything is linked. And local seeds is a very important component of it. And the knowledge of productions, processing are very much known to the local people, and it is culturally linked. They show me one variety of rice. After the name, they put Lusai. When I ask why Lusai, they share that this is not our own rice. Long back, our forefather collect the seed from the Mizo people. That's why when we adopt it, we put the Lusai word so that we can remember this is from the Lusai community. So this is the bioethics, actually, ethical concern, recognizing who is the actually owner of that resources. And this is an example of the exchanging different resources among different ethnic groups, and they coexist. This is one of the actually expression of cultural ethos by the community, because in an oral society there is no traditions of writing something, either through folk song, folk stories, or the textile motif also equally act as the forms of communications. And to a larger extent, actually, the motif communicate the traditional belief, worldviews, better to say.
We people who are living in towns or big cities or in advanced places we are writing. You know, people in the forest have to be taken care of, like, because they are dependent on forests. As if we are not dependent on forests, as if the man sitting in Washington is not dependent on forests, you know. So this idea, I think, has to be really challenged. So we are dependent has to be the core of anything that we talk about or do and preach, or, you know, in every way in our writings or when we talk to anybody. I think that idea has to be there, and if this idea is accepted, then only I think there'll be some changes in the way we think, in the way we do things. Jhum is something, it is a totally different system, even though we speak of it as if it is part of agriculture, but it's about a totally different way of life. And that way of life is being destroyed by this other way of life. We are encroaching into the life of the, into the philosophy of the Jhum life. Why Jhum is important for us and why we should be concerned about that. From 40 or 60 different kinds of crops or vegetables, it has come down to this much, you know. So these are the questions that we need to ask, not commercialize Jhum like the government policies are now planning, you know. They want to do so many cash crops on Jhum land, they want to privatize Jhum land. And the most important thing is that Jhum is different from this modern society because it depends on community land. Nobody owns the Jhum fields except the community, so they move from one place to the other. So if there is privatization, which will completely destroy the concept of Jhum.
The whole world is now searching for solutions to the kind of climate catastrophe that is happening, the kind of other crisis that is happening. You know, most of the crises, our water crisis, our food insecurity crisis, you know, the kind of well-being is something that we are, you know, seeing eroding from the society. Happiness per se is actually going away. You know, but then when you go to the indigenous communities, you see people who are in nature, who are with nature, and whose lives are completely interwoven with, you know, what nature provides. One has to understand that they are also facing a lot of crisis. These are lands where most of the biodiversity is actually 80% of the world's biodiversity is actually preserved on indigenous lands. 50% of you know, the forests on earth is now available on the indigenous lands, and their carbon capture is also at par with all the other forests, and you know, animals survive better in indigenous lands. So globally also, if you go to macroscopic lens, then these are points of, these are schools that we should learn from, that these are the people where we visited, you know, during the deSchool experience. These are the people who are actually the saviors of earth. So my sort of you know, learning gets confirmed, and the time is now to give back.
All our efforts, all our innovations, all our doings have a circular shape and a circular philosophy also, so that it reaches each and every being on this earth. But if you see the base of a mountain, it is circular. If you see how river is flowing, you will find circular curves. So anything naturally happening, you will find there is a circular movement. Even a trunk of a tree is round and circular. So everything around us, the earth is round and the moon is round, the sun is round. So when we are born on this earth, it is automatically, it happens that we are more friendly with a circular structure than an angular structure. So our brain easily adopts the circular structure.
যত জীব জঙ্গম কীট পতঙ্গম অগণ গজগ তেরি কায়া।
So deschooling is an engagement, but we all carry certain baggages or framework through which we see, in a way, the spectacle. We always see it. We are in a spectacle through which we see the world around us. So that needs to be first unlearned. So that is more about refashioning myself, cleansing myself, if that is a spiritual term, that cleansing myself of all this, that way that we are already accustomed and we have acculturated ourselves. That is one. So one way is going towards that. The second one is our engagement with these people, but this is also true that we are engaging with these villagers. So we are not unlearning ourselves in isolation. We are unlearning ourselves through our engagement with the communities. And this second aspect, second group, is primarily suggesting, my reading is, that let us be closer to these people as we understand them. When we understand them, let us not go with a fixed idea, but to be closer to them. So already we have accepted we are going to engage with the people in the process of de-learning, deschooling, but these two very distinctly different group is coming up. I repeat again, first one is about unlearning my own paradigms or perspectives. The others one are saying you go closer to the community to be true to them, to them in our understanding of them. I think this is what are distinctly coming out in this group.
I think for me it seems like deSchool is a confluence of different thoughts coming all together. We are re-looking, revisiting and dememorizing ourselves for a common understanding, for giving some time. Time means again we need more time to to relook the existence of life, maybe in different form. I found that deSchool, this whole process of deSchool, within the process of before going to the village, I found that the process itself creating a space for us, giving a time, and also practicing opportunity for us to deSchool ourselves first as an individual, as a deSchooling team. We are here and also in larger sense in future what we can practice further for. That's I'm thinking of. We are already been a common place where lots of time has been generating by ourselves for practicing, for coming together as a common understanding for.
Workspace Northeast also is very unique in a way because it actually gives you the liberty to kind of really explore and unleash your creativity or your whatever urges you might be having, like you want to write about something, you want to make a song, or you want to just speak. So it gives you that very kind of creative and very enabling platform. So I think so personally I have gained a lot out of it, because I could get that space to kind of really think through few things, also share kind of photographs. For example, I have contributed essays for Workspace Northeast, so it gives you the space to grow personally also. And otherwise, as all of us have been discussing, that it's like really fits into the larger deSchool process, and it's basically trying to give a concrete kind of direction to this whole deSchool experience.
It was way back in 2019. I was asked to come and be part of this deSchool workspace. It was in Kaziranga. So in the first place, I was actually not really sure what I have to do. And then I arrived there. I started, reflecting myself, because there were also many others who were sitting alongside me, and each one of us were asked to just meditate, close our eyes, and tell us, who are we? So that's when my entire confusion, slowly, disappearing. And then I tried to close my eyes, and then when I was reflecting, I am able to, identify who am I. And so that's how I started to imagine the entire universe. And then it was so calming for me, because that was the time when I started to reflect, at the same time engage myself, which is around me, whether it is nature, whether it is other beings, whether it is human beings. It looks like a new world opening up for me again. Nature has been actually part of my life, and when I grew up, also I am a village girl in a sense, so I've come from that kind of background. But then I never realized my surroundings, never listened to the other beings, so I have not really focused on those things around me. But then me being part of that workspace in Kaziranga has actually opened a new dimension for me, where I am able to reflect and think about myself. So actually that was the first time that I began to realize, the importance of things around me. Yeah, so that was the beginning of my journey.
After the workshops and workspace that we had at Kaziranga and later at Majuli, reconnecting in a way with my cultural roots, and especially the folk songs which are lost in a way. Exploration of that began as a result of the workspaces that we held at Kaziranga, because so many different minds came and people who have been working closely with indigenous communities of the Northeast India instilled this new, you can say, even drive in me, where I was looking out for capturing those stories myself also. And the one medium that I found was through music, because I'm a musician myself for the past decade, but then I had not even explored the folk songs of the Dimasa community myself. I've been listening to it around me during the annual Bushu festivals that we have. But beyond that, I had not really explored much. And then I realized also that we don't have resources where we can actually listen to this music, because almost none of it has been recorded. So I also thought, okay, this is also an opportunity to, start documenting our folk songs. And because Dimasa culture as a whole is a oral, history that we have, and it has been passed on. So similarly, the songs have been passed on. But then I felt that this passing on is reducing day by day. And with the advent of recording, now we have the opportunity to do that, but we have not really been doing it. There are many Dimasa modern songs, but not the folk songs have been reproduced. So that led me to the creation of Ecopolis, and then later on animism.
Nishining na shodeng ma Nishining nu shodeng ma Nishining na shodeng ma nu shodeng ma Nishining ham hideng ma ring hideng ma Di baju bamadai ning ke jirik ladu hiring ladu Di baju bamadai ning ke jirik ladu hiring ladu Nishining na shodeng ma nu shodeng ma Nishining ham hideng ma ring hideng ma Aflong hajib jubajang ri gulu bajang Aflong hajib jubajang ri gulu bajang Soy soy hajib gafuya Soy soy hajib